Whatculture.
Who's a rational thinker? Me! Who doesn't believe in things that go bump in the night but still has an irrational part of their brain telling them that the inexplicable might actually be things that go bump in the night? Me. They say the camera never lies, but in the age of Photoshop, it can be hard to tell the difference sometimes. I'm Ben from Whatculture, and here are 8 famous paranormal photographs debunked. Number 8. The time-traveling hipster. This photograph was taken in 1941. It is genuine and has not been tampered with in any way, yet it appears to show a man that would look more at home in 2017 than in the 40s. The wraparound sunglasses, the printed t-shirt, the compact camera. Could we have caught a time traveler in the act? Don't be stupid, or, well, maybe, but if that is the case, then the traveler's done very well to dress for the period. Everything here is explainable. The side shade style of sunglasses were not unheard of at the time. His sweatshirt appears to show that he's a supporter of the Montreal Maroons hockey team, and his camera is probably something like the Kodak 35 rangefinder launched in 1938. The fact that our trendy friend is surrounded by mostly older folks only serves to make him stand out more. Your nan doesn't keep up with the latest fashion trends after all, I assume. Number 7. Solway Spaceman. This photograph, taken in 1964, appears to show some kind of helmeted spaceman or astronaut popping out from behind this little girl. Is this some kind of time slip? Perhaps even an alien visitor? Man had barely begun its journey to the stars in '64, yet this guy has the distinct look of an Apollo astronaut. It's actually more likely to be the little girl's dear old mum. With the horizon leveled out and the exposure knocked back, you practically can't unsee a dark-haired person with their back to the camera. The angle of the arm is also odd for a forward-facing figure and much more suited to a figure with its back to us. The photographer insists that he didn't see anyone there at the time, and he's probably telling the truth, as the viewfinder on the camera he was using would cut about 30% of the final image, creating a blind spot. Number 6. The Levitating Man. Colin Evans was a spiritual medium back in the 1930s. Part of his act included him being levitated by unseen hands in the middle of the crowd. He would, of course, have to levitate in total darkness, wouldn't want to scare away the spirits after all. But luckily, flash photography allowed us to catch the spirits in the act. He would be briefly illuminated in midair to the gathered crowd, and the resulting photograph clearly captures him being lifted by the spirit, except he is clearly just jumping off his bloody chair. This photograph is still occasionally peddled around even today in discussions about levitation, and ultimately Evans was betrayed by the technology he used to prove his powers. The photos reveal that he was actually setting the flash off himself, using a remote attached to a cord, allowing him to perfectly time his jumps. I suppose you could call him a conman with no magical powers to speak of for wankers. Hashtag conman with no magical powers to speak of for wankers. Number 5. The Battle of Los Angeles. To be fair, something definitely did happen in the skies above Los Angeles on the 24th of February 1942, but exactly what is still the subject of much debate. Late that night, something was spotted flying over LA, and the order was given to launch as many anti-aircraft projectiles the military could lay their hands on. You see, the incident occurred just 3 months after the US entered World War II, and because of this, it's generally thought that a weather balloon was mistaken for an enemy aircraft, and, to make matters worse, anti-aircraft burst were caught in the searchlights and mistaken for yet more planes. Officials weren't taking any chances and lit the place up. There are some people, however, who think the whole story is a UFO cover-up. The iconic photograph that was printed in the press appears to show a large saucer-like object. Unfortunately for ufologists, it was common practice to retouch photographs before they went to print. The image was brightened, beams of light added, and the saucer shape in the center was sharpened and emphasized, with various flecks of lens flare being interpreted as part of the object. Cheating, really. Number 4. Giant skeletons found. These images surface every so often, usually attached to a story about either a new gigantic discovery or an excavation from the olden days that was somehow either forgotten or hushed up. Believe it or not, there are actually a lot of people with a vested interest in proving the existence of giants. There are plenty of variations on the theme, but the photograph you're seeing now is actually from a Photoshop competition on the now defunct Worth1000.com. The competition brief was to create an archaeological hoax. Your job is to show a picture of an archaeological discovery that looks so real, had it not happened at Worth 1000, people might have done a double take. The source photograph for this particular image was taken from the excavation of a mastodon in Hyde Park, and here it is now. See? Number 3. The Wem Ghost Girl. In 1995, Wem Town Hall was destroyed by a fire. As it burned, an amateur photographer snapped a picture, and when he came to develop the image, he was surprised to find the image of a girl stood in the doorway seemingly unperturbed by the raging inferno. The image caused a sensation and, under initial analysis, was claimed to be genuine. The story rose up of a little girl from 1677 who had died in a fire, and the photograph was considered to be convincing proof of the existence of ghosts. However, in 2010, a few years after the photographer's death, a pensioner from Wem found a postcard of the town from 1922 that featured a very familiar little girl. The images are identical and the photograph has since been pronounced a fake. Not to be put off, however, there are now those who think that the little girl from 1922 could still be wandering around Wem in spirit form, setting fires and striking a signature pose, the pose that was caught on camera. Probably not, though. Number 2. Nessie At Last? The famous surgeon's photo of Nessie popping her head out of the waters of Loch Ness has been so roundly debunked that even most Nessie believers acknowledge it to be a fake. But this image, taken by an Apple Maps satellite, still has plenty of people convinced. It appears to show a large creature with huge plesiosaur-like flippers, but a head more like that of a whale. Another image was also captured by Google Maps, which showed a similar shape in the water. Surely a creature that can be seen from space can be nothing other than the Loch Ness Monster. Unfortunately for Nessie hunters, both images turned out to depict the wake of a boat that was traversing the loch at the time. The distinctive pattern perfectly matches the wake created by the Jacobite Queen, a tourist boat that makes regular trips across the loch. Number 1. The Enfield Poltergeist. The image of an 11-year-old girl being flung from her bed by unseen hands fascinated and horrified all who followed the Enfield hauntings in the late 70s, and the series of photographs and audio recordings taken during the paranormal investigations have been enough to convince legions of believers. However, put into context with the rest of the photographs of this particular incident, it does look rather more like a girl simply jumping out of her bed. The investigations were carried out by members of the Society for Psychical Research, and they were convinced of the house's haunted status. Unfortunately, the problem with getting paranormal investigators to verify hauntings is that they already believe in ghosts, so they are swayed in that particular direction. Janet was also prone to speaking with a demon's voice, but it has been noted from recordings that the seemingly gruff poltergeist seemed to have the vocabulary and mannerisms of an 11-year-old girl. Not to mention the fact that the pair of sisters generally smirked their way through interviews regarding the hauntings, and Janet was at one point caught bending spoons and practicing levitation by jumping on her bed. Despite all of this frankly damning behavior, the case is still considered by many to be one of the most convincing hauntings in history. But what do you think? And that's our list. Make sure you subscribe to the Whatculture YouTube channel for more lists like this, and don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. I'm Ben from Whatculture, and thanks for watching.